The views expressed on the Warren and Bradley Show are not necessarily those held by the hosts, Warren and Bradley, nor those of the proprietors of the website, warrenandbradley.com.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
Let's make some magic.
It is magic time. Hello, and welcome once again to the Warren and Bradley Show. I am one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
I'm the other host, Warren Van.
It is episode 40 of the Warren and Bradley Show, the Big 4-0. The listenership is just going through the roof. Got all sorts of people.
We always assume we peak at about 40.
No, I think it's just only getting better and better and better.
You know, we're like a fine wine. Do you remember that when like your parents turned 40 and there were a bunch of like mugs around your house that said like things about 40 and there were like cards and people
we never had
any
any bugs or anything, but I know what you mean. The life gets better at 40.
That stuff's everywhere when you turn 40, I guess.
Yeah, but that's all just the wishful thinking and like trying to convince yourself of something that you know isn't true.
That's not really true.
No.
But it is a big age when you're an adult and you become 40.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same in podcasting. It's like, you know, there's dog years. I don't know what podcasting years
I think
would
we're
be.
still young.
Yeah, I think so.
And
too.
podcasting years, well, we haven't even got to a year yet.
No,
so,
we haven't.
yeah, it's a very young podcast.
All right. So let's get this underway here, Warren. You just got back from camping. I hadn't even heard about this. You were on a camping trip?
I went on a camping trip with the girlfriend's work camping trip, their annual camping trip.
But not with her, just with her work?
No, she tagged along as
Okay.
well. Yeah, so I went camping in North Cascades National Park.
Oh, yeah.
Diablo Lake.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I got bit by a lot of mosquitoes.
Yeah.
And I don't sleep very well on the ground. So
Were you just in a two-person tent with your girlfriend?
just in a two-person tent with the
Okay,
girlfriend.
good.
A very small two-person tent.
Yeah.
Uncomfortably crammed in there.
Were they two like normal person size or like Warren 6'3" size?
That was sort of an issue,
Yeah.
yeah. Because we initially tried to put some other things in the tent with us.
Yeah.
And there wasn't enough space with other things in the tent for us to like lay there.
So up there in North Cascades National Forest there's black bears, cougars?
Oh, there were warnings about, put your
Yeah.
food in a bear canister or put them in your car or something.
hang it from a tree. or
'Cause
something
I think
like
there were brown bears they were worried about. They said
Brown
there
bears?
have been brown bear spottings around that area.
that. Well, I know they had seen one or something, and it was a big deal.
That was probably the one.
I doubt they're
got
like thick on the ground.
That was probably what they got really excited about, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't too worried about it. I mean, there were lots of people around the campground, so I don't think if they were going to come all the way through the
They would
campground,
devour
find
other
us.
people first.
Yeah, they get to the children first, probably, right? The other people have these
Easier
children.
to catch. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wasn't worried about that. There were a lot of squirrels.
Just a second.
What happened?
All right, sorry about that, listener. We had a little technical difficulty. We had our Facebook page was up on our web browser, and we're actually getting live feedback from an audience member just saying how much they enjoyed the show.
We made it to 40. We're so popular now, we can't have the Facebook page open because noises come out of the machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, to
It's
alert us.
just like it's kind of like a pachinko machine of all these
Yeah.
all these instant messages coming up. And people like, love the show, great show, wonderful show.
And we love
Brad's
it, but it's,
sexy.
we're trying to record right now, so we had to shut that down.
we had to shut that down. Anyway, so we were talking about being devoured by wild animals out there. Did you see any wildlife when you were up there?
I saw some birds, normal birds.
Yeah.
A
Not
lot of
those exotic
chipmunks.
parrots that...
No, I don't think I saw anything big roaming around. I did a nice hike up to the top of Thunder Knob, which is a very strangely named
like
knob.
a porn name.
Yeah, and so I climbed to the top of the knob,
Yeah.
and I looked out, and I had a nice, majestic view of the lake.
So that's all old-growth forest up there, kind
I
of.
assume so. The trees look very old.
Yeah.
They
They're
look
big.
old, and they're covered in moss, and they have barely any, like, what do you call them, the little pins on there?
Pins?
What do you call
Pine
it?
needles?
Pine needles. Barely. I'm not an outdoorsman.
You go camping a lot, obviously.
I'm
don't
like
you?
pointing at the pins. There's a lot of moss. The trees look kind of dead. I assume that means they're old growth trees, right?
Yeah.
At the top of this hill.
Well, usually in an old-growth forest, you'll notice that there's hardly any undergrowth.
Yes.
There's a nice blanket of pine needles on the ground. The trees are large and
I was
tall.
also getting close to the top of the tree line, too, when I got up there.
Uh-huh.
So the trees were also getting more sparse the higher I got as I climbed the top
Right.
of the knob. Yeah.
from the subalpine to the alpine region.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I just went right through that barrier. No
What I
problem.
love about the Pacific Northwest is that our little foothills are mountains in the Northeast. And so you can be like, okay, I just climbed up this foothill, but if it were someone from the Appalachians or something, that would be the highest peak in the range.
It's very different, right?
Yeah.
Because as high as we were camping would have been one of the highest areas east of the Mississippi.
Right.
Anywhere.
Because our mountains are much newer than theirs are.
Oh, yes, definitely. I'm not going to argue with you on that point.
I had a pretty good weekend, too. There was a little sun, got to go swimming with a friend. That was fun.
Oh, good.
I finally sold my car.
Oh, you did? I saw it still sitting
It's
out
still
there.
there. Somebody's supposedly coming to get it eventually. We'll have to get into this whole crazy car thing maybe in our next segment, because there's a weird coincidence involved in the actual selling of the vehicle.
my. I'm
It's very
intrigued.
strange. It's one of those small world kind of things. And I know we live in a fairly small city, but there's a couple 100,000 people in the outlying area, or 100,000 people or so. And,
Yeah.
and I don't know. Sometimes the world doesn't seem as random as I believe it to be, but I don't know. We'll get into that later. We're also going to have a listener feedback. We'll have some Celebrity Minute, lots of naked Prince Harry news out and about there. Yeah.
I can't wait. Do you actually have a photo of naked Prince Harry?
The TMZ had the exclusive photos, so we'll post them on our website, but they always have the TMZ logo across them because they're the ones who purchased the exclusive rights to the photos.
Really?
Yeah.
How much money do you think somebody made off that?
I don't know. I always wonder about that because paparazzi make a living. I mean, this wasn't paparazzi. These were just weirdos at a party that he was cavorting around naked at. But I don't know what paparazzi make. I have no clue. We should look into that sometime. Because I know there's actually a court case going on right now where I think we mentioned in one of our Celebrity Minute updates that Justin Bieber was involved in this high-speed chase throughout the freeway.
That's right.
In his Fisker Karma supercar. And I guess the paparazzi involved in that is being prosecuted under this 2010 California law that has never been enforced yet. But it's about paparazzi harassment and putting people in danger by trying to pursue photographs and things like that.
Ooh, that is a very subjective
It
law.
is, and people are kind of freaking out about it. As much as I hate paparazzi, I sort of think that maybe it's starting to get kind of trampling on some First Amendment rights, or not First Amendment. What's the First Amendment?
Yeah, that's for freedom of the press.
Yeah, freedom of the
Yeah.
press. Okay, I'm a
You're fine.
constitutional scholar.
Just as long as they're not quartering troops in our houses.
Exactly.
What's that, the fourth? Or is that the third? I think
can't
it's
remember.
fourth.
But does that count for militia?
Yeah, you're not. I don't think you can quarter anyone in anyone's house.
Really? So you have to bivouac them out in the yard
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something?
you would have to go into like the common of the village or the town, and that's where you put your troops.
All right, so stick around for the rest of the show. It's going to be excellent.
Oh, this is great. I'm excited.
Very well then. So as I teased earlier, there was some craziness going on where I was trying to sell my shitty old car. I think it was almost like a deja vu of when I was trying to sell my shitty old truck, where you put the Craigslist posting in, and I've learned from experience to be as explicit as humanly possible in the posting. I list every single thing I can possibly think of about the vehicle, everything that's wrong with it. I go in great detail because you can never assume that the people who are going to be calling you have even remotely average intelligence.
Well, because last time you listed the previous car you sold like this, people were calling you wanting to drive the car
Exactly.
away, right?
And it was a non-running vehicle, and I mentioned it explicitly in bold type over and over again that you would have to haul the truck away. Same thing this time, where it was basically, we need to get in the whole thing again, the Carmageddon parts 1 and 2 that we touched on previously, but the car has electrical problems. It does not run. It needs like an entirely new wiring harness. So I specifically mentioned all that in the ad. The very first thing in the ad was 93 Volkswagen Passat, non-running condition. You will need to haul it away. Repeatedly talked about every little dent, everything in the interior, every single thing of the car. And of course, every fucking call I got was like, yeah, I'm calling about the Volkswagen vehicle. How's it run? It does not run. I mentioned in the ad that it does not run. It has electrical problems. So, how many miles are on that thing? I mentioned very explicitly how many miles are on it in the ad. Did you read the ad? Yeah, so can I just pick it up tomorrow? Will you take this much? It does not run. You need a trailer. You need to be able to haul it away. So it was just over and over and over with these dipshits. And so I was finally getting to the point where the first person who offered me anything, I would just let them take it away. And so finally I got a call from a guy who was like, okay, I'll give you this much for it. And can I come today? Like, okay, yes, just come. It was less than I wanted, but I always do about twice as much as I think I'm going to get for it, just so I can...
Because people like to dicker.
Yeah, they like to pretend that they're bargaining with you. And so I'm waiting for this guy, and of course, as usual, he said he'll be there in 5 minutes, and then it was like 48 minutes later, and I was sitting out in the backyard waiting for the dude. He finally shows up, looks at the car, blah, blah, blah. He had actually read the ad, so he was pointing out things that I had mentioned in the ad. He's like, all right, yeah, I'll take it. And he's like, is this your only vehicle? I'm like, oh, no, I just got a truck. Like, oh, yeah, what truck? Point out the truck I just bought. Like, hey, wait a minute. Like, oh, yeah, what's going on? That's my truck.
Wow.
That's your truck? Yeah, I gave it to Sergio to sell. Sergio? Okay, so now, when I purchased the vehicle,
yes,
this little Italian dude named Sergio, who was supposedly the owner of the truck. And I meet up with Sergio. He's like, oh, yes, it's my vehicle. You know, I bought for my daughter, but you cannot drive a stick. You know,
that's right.
Like, okay, that's a good story there. Yes, so I have mechanic. He check everything because I'm not going to give a car to my daughter. It's dangerous. And I'm like, all right, so little Sergio. And apparently, that was all a lie. A big, fat lie.
So Sergio sells other people's used cars for them?
Apparently, this guy buys vehicles, fixes them up or checks them out, and then flips them through Sergio as his broker. I don't know what Sergio gets out of it, because the price I paid for the vehicle was way under Blue Book. So I don't know if he gets a percentage, and he's empowered to bargain for the price. But it was in his name. On the title, it had Sergio's name.
So, really, they moved it to Sergio's name just to sell to you.
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. Well, and because this guy gave me his name, and I was going to fill it out on the report of sale. And he's like, actually, I'm doing it under my roommate's name. So it's like, okay.
Jeez.
I don't know what kind of, and I don't give a shit, because I'm like, I'm just going to report the car as sold, and then now it's none of my business anymore. It's, you know. But now I'm starting to think, is this some weird... Because as far as I could tell, the truck I bought is fine, but it's put this weird, like, seed of doubt in me now that there's some weird scheme going on or something strange. And the fact, not to be, you know, stereotypical, but Sergio is a little Italian dude. He said he was from Naples, and we all know about the Camorra,
we know about the corruption in Naples,
organized crime syndicate that operates out of Naples, and they are.
You think this is an arm?
Okay, well here's the crazy hypothetical that sprung into my mind after hearing all this, and I started stewing on it for a while. Okay, what do they stand to gain out of this? Selling cheap cars to people. Yeah. My thought was this. They sell the vehicle. It has a hidden GPS device somewhere in the vehicle.
Okay.
So I'm driving the vehicle around, and they just hope that at some point I cross the Canadian border.
Yeah.
Now, maybe there's a couple kilos of coke or heroin hidden somewhere on the vehicle. Once I cross the border, they use the GPS tracker to locate the vehicle. And when I'm going, you know, at my strip bar or whatever I'm doing up in Canada, they come and take out the cocaine or the heroin, knowing that I'm the mule, the unwitting mule that's going to go across the border and transport their drugs for them.
Are they involved in dealing cocaine in North America?
Oh, yeah.
Are they really having a hard time getting cocaine to Canada? A hard enough time that they get cocaine to America and then into Canada?
How about this? I go to Canada without any drugs in the vehicle. Yeah. They track my vehicle. They have one of their representatives up there, you know, in Langley, BC or wherever. Yeah. Once my truck is parked, then they hide the cocaine or the heroin in the truck. And then as I'm trying to cross into the border and get it into America, well, unwittingly, they just happen to pull my car over, drug-sniffing dogs. Oh, there's 2 kilos of heroin in your truck. I'm like, whoa, I had no idea. I had no idea what's going on. Suddenly I'm in jail. It's like a Midnight Express kind of situation. You're visiting me. At some point, you have to, like, press your boobs up against the glass. And there's the whole...
Okay, I don't understand. What's the point of you getting arrested with the
Well, they don't
drugs?
want me to get arrested, but that's what's going to happen.
But with a plan, if it went the way they wanted to go, you would just come home, you park, and then they'd come take it out without you ever knowing it ever happened.
Exactly.
There's no way this is going on. It's much easier to just threaten somebody. Yeah. You know what I mean? They could put, like, a handgun in your mouth and be like, do this, and then you'd be like, okay.
I'd say no.
Would you?
Well, what are they going to do?
Probably shoot me. You, yeah.
Well, where does that get them?
Well, they just move on to the next one.
Then they got a body on their hands, so they just keep going up to random people and putting a gun in their mouths.
I don't know if that,
I think my GPS thing makes way more sense.
They give somebody $1,000 to do it.
Yeah, that's probably more simple.
Yeah, that's probably.
I'm just trying to think of what angle. Okay, so if this is some weird scheme, what's their angle? They just think it's easier for a little Italian.
Did you do a Carfax check on the car?
Yeah, it checks out fine.
Never was in an accident?
Never in an accident.
I think maybe Sergio's just good at selling cars, and he gets like a cut to sell the cars.
Maybe, but it just seems like I don't know.
He sold the car to you.
He did.
And you trusted him.
He did pull the wool over my eyes.
Yeah, you were like,
really
I
well.
guess, this guy seems legitimate.
His daughter rejects a lot of vehicles, apparently.
Maybe the Italianness of him made him more credible to you.
Well, as Americans, we do seem to enjoy foreign people. We like their accents. We think they're kind of...
And maybe he seemed, just overwhelmed by America here, right? And he's like, I can just barely get by myself. There's no way I'd be scheming Americans.
He wasn't like a fresh off the boat Ellis Island kind of Italian dude.
No?
He said he worked for some pizza company, though. Like he was an
geez.
executive somewhere.
For a pizza company?
I can't remember if it was Papa Murphy's or what it was. But
he wasn't wearing one of those chef's hat like Chef Boyardee, was he?
No.
Okay.
I think he was in the management. But, I mean, that could all be a lie, too. It's just really...
Yeah, it probably was a lie.
It probably was.
Yeah. Who knows if his name's even Sergio? Who knows if he's even Italian?
Well, it had his first and last name on the title, and I'm assuming that they at least checked that you're licensed to get a title in your name. I don't even know how it works. But anyway, it's really shaken
strange.
my faith in humanity now. I can't trust any
But the truck seems
Italian
to perform
immigrants.
okay so far, right?
It seems fine. I don't know.
Maybe go back to Sergio next time you need a vehicle.
I have his number. Warren, what time is it?
Let me check my watch. It appears to be Celebrity Minute.
Oh!
Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
Yes, it is Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show, and our top story for this week. Prince Harry, naked photos emerge after he parties in Las Vegas. Apparently what happens in Vegas doesn't always stay in Vegas.
What do you mean?
Because he was in Vegas and he was naked. And
okay,
people
that makes
know
sense.
that.
Yeah, okay.
So apparently Prince Harry had a booze-fueled weekend in Las Vegas. He was on leave. He's going to be deployed to Afghanistan again. He's a helicopter pilot in the Royal Air Service. Yeah. And while partying with some friends in Las Vegas, he invited some floozies up to his room. They got rather drunk and played strip billiards. I don't know if it was strip pool or actual billiards. I don't know if there's a lot of billiards tables in America.
Without the holes, right, on the corners?
Some of them
that's a
have
snooker table.
Yeah, snooker has no holes. Billiards has holes, but it just has the yellow or the red and the black.
Are they bigger? The table's bigger too?
I don't know.
Oh,
whatever.
Who knows?
Anyway, they were playing pool and or billiards, doing a strip version of it. TMZ got exclusive photos. I guess someone at the party took pictures, kind of these blurry pictures of Prince Harry.
I'd do it. I haven't seen these yet.
I'll show Warren here. We'll post these on warrenandbradley.com. There's one of Prince Harry naked, embracing a naked woman from behind. Here's another one here of him covering his junk while a woman embraces him from behind.
Yeah,
both completely nude. Needless to say, the royal family was not impressed. Prince William is apparently very disappointed in Harry. And there's also a publicist who says that other people who were at the party, other women, have come forward saying they have more pictures, possibly even video, and possibly even worse pictures than these. But according to other British papers, the British public does not really seem to give a shit because Prince Harry has that party boy.
And the thing is,
image.
Prince Harry's not going to be the king, so who cares,
Well,
right?
he's third in line to the throne, yeah. So
cares?
he's the lovable rapscallion, the lad, the little scallywag who goes around. He also famously wore a swastika to a costume party once. That didn't go over too well. He was involved in a scuffle as he emerged from a club at 3 a.m. in the morning once from some paparazzi, bruised some paparazzi guy's lips. He drunkenly fell into a pool once while dancing. He was caught smoking marijuana and was forced to go to like a scared straight prison thing his dad made him go to.
I just want to make sure the audience knows right now that as you're listing off these things that Prince Harry has done in the past, you're not looking at a computer screen. You're looking right at me.
Yes.
These are all in your brain.
No, well, they weren't until I read the story and then read the subsequent
That's very
articles.
impressive.
Well, because I've often complained about why the fuck do Americans give a shit about what the British royal family does.
Yeah.
But they obviously do, because every fucking story that I was looking at when I was trying to find celebrity news this week was Prince Harry, Prince Harry, Prince Harry. There were literally, you saw the stories I had up.
Yeah.
There were dozens of stories. So I guess it's big news, and
Well,
that's
of course
why
it's
we're
big
covering
news,
it.
because just remember when his mom died, how, just shut down the world for a while.
He's very unfortunate looking, isn't he?
Well, this is the strange thing about him.
Red hair.
That women are telling me that he's better looking than his brother.
Well, his brother's kind of balding, and so he has kind of that Prince Charles stuffy, and that's the thing. That's his appeal, I guess, is that he's just kind of devil-may-care attitude.
He's a bad boy.
And he's in the army. He's driving helicopters around. He's pretty cool.
He's a fun-loving guy.
So they're out on the streets in London asking common people what they thought of this. Apparently, Jim Conlon, a 60-year-old construction worker, said, when asked if Harry did anything wrong, the answer to that is categorically no. I'd be proud of him if he were my son, says Conlon.
There you go.
Another down the road, caregiver Shirley Ashford laughed at the news of Harry's naked adventure, dismissing questions about the propriety of running around a plush hotel room in the buff with the boys will be boys shrug. I've got kids, they do things like that. He's a lad, for God's sake. If I were photographed naked in a hotel room with naked women, I don't know if my family would react that way.
How do you think your family would react?
I don't know.
But how would they even see the photos, though? They wouldn't be, plastered all over the Daily Mail or anything.
Well, how do you know? Bradley Victor of the Warren and Bradley Show, caught in an indiscretion.
People expect that.
Well, how do you think our friend group, our peer group would react to that?
People wouldn't care.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like no one really cares about that stuff. That's true. That's just true of society in general. I think that British society and our society, that's like, as long as you're not hurting anybody, who cares what you do?
I'll tell you one person who does care.
The Queen.
Well, the royal family cares.
Yeah.
Apparently, he got a stern talking to by his father. But the other person who cares is Cressida Bones, his girlfriend. Socialite girlfriend Cressida Bones says that she is dumping him. She's embarrassed and mortified because he was embracing naked women in the photo.
What's her name?
Cressida.
Cressida Jones?
Bones. Or Bonus. Bonus? Bonehands?
It's a strange name.
I have no fucking clue. But, yeah. I guess if you saw pictures of your girlfriend naked with men in a hotel room, you'd probably break up with her.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So anyway, Harry, naked. Maybe we'll see more. Maybe there'll be some video. Maybe he'll have some kind of crazy sex video. We can all look forward to that.
Ooh, this next story is exciting.
Yep.
Madonna on Elton John. I forgive him for calling me a fairground stripper.
Yes, we had this story, I don't know if it was 1 or 2 weeks ago on Celebrity Minute, where Elton John blasted Madonna, saying that her career was over and that she looked like a fairground stripper.
My favorite term ever.
But Madonna, during a performance of Masterpiece in Nice, France, said that she forgave Elton John and she dedicated the song Masterpiece to him. But it might have been sort of an underhanded compliment, because Masterpiece is the song for which she won a Golden Globe for Best Original Song. And that was the one that beat out Elton John. And during her acceptance speech, she was critical of Lady Gaga, and Elton John's partner blasted Madonna for that acceptance speech. So maybe she's sort of in an underhanded way.
Oh, wow.
I don't know.
That's
really
even worse than just calling Elton John out.
Yeah.
You know, that's just playing that song after asking for forgiveness. Give me a break.
Yeah.
Unbelievable behavior by Madonna.
What a bitch. The big story that we missed last week, because I think as we went to air, this was just happening, was famous director Tony Scott killed himself.
Yes, apparently he had inoperable brain cancer.
Well, no, this is the thing. It was reported, I think by NBC or ABC, that he had an inoperable brain tumor, and that is probably why he killed himself. But his family is saying that's not the case. And actually, according to everyone, they're saying that there was no illness that he had that should have precipitated him killing himself. He left 2 notes in his vehicle. For those of you who don't know, he drove up to a bridge. It was the
Thomas Vincent Memorial Bridge,
yes,
right?
Over LA Harbor. Drove up, climbed a fence, and without any hesitation just jumped over.
Yeah.
There are several people who took actual video footage of it, I guess.
Really?
Yes. I don't think this has been made public. But there were 2 notes in the vehicle, one of which just had emergency contact information, and another one had just last messages to friends and family and loved ones. Nothing about a motive for the suicide. They're conducting an autopsy now to see if there was any sort of, I mean, obviously the cause of death is known, but whether or not there was any pre-existing condition as to why he may have done this.
So there may be more to the story.
There may be.
I mean, he could have been in the trouble with the mob from Naples.
Perhaps. Maybe Sergio had tried to pull the same scam on old Tony Scott.
Maybe it was just that he never could live up to his brother's reputation.
Yeah, I mean, well, he did Top Gun.
Okay. I know Mr. Scott just died, and I know we always do this.
Are you gonna
immediately after he died, you see these reports, and I go, I wonder what's going to happen now. And of course, the same thing that always happens, which is he suddenly becomes Orson Welles or Stanley Kubrick
right.
for like a week, and you're like, come on now, people. It was Tony Scott.
Well, he also co-produced a lot of Ridley Scott's films. with
Okay,
him.
yeah, I know. He's a
You know,
genius.
yeah, whatever. Top Gun.
Yeah.
But he had a lot of hits, and so it wasn't as though his career was in the shit house or anything like that. But I don't know. Maybe more information will be forthcoming anyway.
And you know where to get that information, listeners. Probably at a website like TMZ.
And then we'll read it, and then we'll report it on
a week
the
after
Celebrity
it's
Minute
been
on the Ward
reported.
and Bradley Show.
Yeah.
Next story, Lennon's killer denied parole for 7th time.
Oh, I
in
did
New
see
York.
this, yeah.
You did. You actually emailed this to me earlier in the week. This was a story we were going to get to last week because Mark David Chapman was up for parole for the 7th time. He was denied parole for the 7th time. Don't think that's much of a shock to anybody.
No.
He was given 20 years to life originally, and he even admitted at the time that he only did it for fame. He wanted to live forever. He had also considered shooting Johnny Carson or Elizabeth Taylor, but said that he chose Lennon because the ex-Beatle was more accessible and that his century-old Upper West Side apartment building by Central Park wasn't quite as cloistered. I had always thought that he was just a crazed fan of John Lennon and that he wanted to shoot Lennon to be
But
part...
he just was a crazy celebrity.
He wanted to be
seeker.
immortalized as part of the Lennon myth.
But you know what? If you were gonna, of those three people, if you were gonna shoot any of them, you were gonna be more infamous if you shot
John Lennon was definitely the best choice.
Yes.
I think he made the right choice. I mean, it was the wrong choice.
It was the wrong
but
choice for us, for America.
He shouldn't have shot anybody.
Yeah.
I'll
He
say
shouldn't
that
have shot
right
anybody.
now. I'm going to
I
come
agree
down
with you.
right now
I agree with
firmly
you.
and strongly.
No,
He should not have shot anybody.
No one thinks that he shouldn't have shot anybody more
Yes.
than I think he shouldn't have shot anybody.
But
Trust me.
if you were going to shoot
Yeah.
one of those three,
You got to
John
shoot
Lennon, John Lennon was the right choice.
definitely. Because, I mean, you shoot Elizabeth Taylor, and
Yeah.
it's like...
I don't know if anyone would really mind.
Yeah,
that.
those last, 30 years of Elizabeth
Yeah.
Taylor's life, she's just petering out
She was
anyways.
just having her white diamonds perfume and just irritating people.
Yeah.
for the
It
rest
wouldn't
of
be
their
that big a deal.
No.
I can't think of anyone else that you could assassinate at that time. Oh, maybe Ronald Reagan if you killed him.
Yeah.
But
that had already been tried, you know.
Yeah.
You don't want to copy. So he was denied parole again. He said that he made the wrong choice.
no, good. I'm glad.
Not of the three, but just of shooting somebody.
That's what they're asking him at the parole board.
Well, he said,
"Do you
quote,
think you should have killed Carson? How about Taylor? What do you think?"
I bet he would be out of jail by now if he had killed Taylor. He says, quote, "I felt that by killing John Lennon, I would become somebody. And instead of that, I became a murderer. And murderers are not somebodies."
He's learned his lesson. That's
Yeah,
good.
That's good. He's reformed.
Oh, I just saw this today. This is sad.
Neil Armstrong, first man on the moon, dead at 82.
That is quite an accomplishment to be the first man on the moon.
Yeah.
Really, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, this is the thing about. I think about this sometimes about how impressive that is.
It is.
So if you look back 10,000 years in the future on this current time, the guy that walked on the moon first.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Well, this
a big
is the
deal.
thing. This is the thing that we don't do anymore. I mean, this was in the fucking 60s where they say, we're going to put a man on the moon. They were using reel-to-reel computers. They managed to put together a mission in 10 years.
Yeah.
And got a man on the moon. Now we have trouble putting it, we put a probe on Mars. Yeah, big fucking deal. It's not that exciting to me. But this was in the fucking 60s that we did this. So yes, that is very impressive. We haven't equaled that since. And I don't know if we ever will.
If we suddenly get into another space race with the Chinese, then we'll do something. We'll send somebody to Mars or
Maybe.
something. But barring some sort of superpower rival, we won't do things like this just because we don't have the motivation.
about to-
The Warren and Bradley Show sends our heartfelt condolences to Mr. Armstrong's family, and we grieve for him with the rest of America.
We do indeed. But dead at 82, had a full life.
And it is also the avowed desire of the Warren and Bradley Show that we send someone to Mars.
I'm going to send an ultimatum, or let's just say a challenge to the U.S. government, or maybe
jeez.
private industry. Let's put a man on Mars by 2024.
Wow.
I like the sound of that.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
We could
doable.
if we did the moon in
Rupert
less than
Murdoch,
10 years.
are you listening?
Yeah.
So should that be the end of Celebrity Minute on the Warren
Let's
and Bradley
wrap
Show?
this up. But you can take that picture of Prince Harry's ass off the screen.
You don't like
too.
seeing that?
No, it's unpleasant.
Got a little bit of a tan line there. He has a star on his ass.
I know his asshole has to be starred. It's an erogenous area. We can't look at it.
Is the asshole an erogenous area?
I guess so because they're blocking it off, right?
Yeah.
You can't. I don't think you can show. You can't show nipples. You can't show actual vagina. You
I
can't show
thought,
asshole.
you could show just the back of somebody's ass.
You can, but you can't. But I think the problem is that
What you
can see
don't want
into
is the
his hole.
sack hanging down.
Wait, you can. But they're not blocking his sack in this picture. They're just blocking the hole.
I don't think you'd see the hole.
You don't think it's kind of pulled out a little bit there
Maybe
because
if it
he's
was
straddling that girl?
prolapsed or something. I don't know.
God, then they definitely want to block it out.
All right, so this has been Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show.
Thanks for listening.
This has been Celebrity Minute on the Warren and Bradley Show. And now it's time for listener feedback on the Warren and Bradley Show.
Dear Warren and Bradley, I am writing this missive to let you know that I was utterly delighted with last week's episode. Your tales of prostitutes and the indigent are always quite illuminating, and I say, could you turn off that racket? Turn it off, I say! What are you doing? Can't hear myself make this ridiculous noise.
Listener feedback on the Warren and Bradley Show. Yes, indeed. Listener feedback on the Warren and Bradley Show makes its return this week, and we have a question from quite loyal listener, Jed. He always brings a little bit of a cerebral quality to the show.
Cerebral?
That's how English people say cerebral.
Do they?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I never heard an English person say that.
Yeah.
I guess that would make sense that they would say it that
Cerebral.
way.
They pronounce things properly, usually. They say aluminium when we say
What do
aluminum.
you mean properly?
Well, you know, they invented the language.
Anglophile.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, he says, lately I've seen a couple pieces decrying the phenomena of people, particularly young women, who do not self-identify as feminists. To these writers, if someone believes that women should have equal rights and or control over their own vaginas, then that person is a feminist. Do you find this argument convincing, or does being a feminist imply more than this baseline belief? Would you call yourselves feminists?
I probably wouldn't call myself a feminist.
No.
But I certainly do believe in equal rights for women.
Yes. This has come up several times, and I don't know how much humor we can wring out of the subject, but it's interesting.
It's more about just like nomenclature, though, right?
Yes, and it's this idea of, I had a girlfriend once who was very angry about things a lot.
Okay.
She would see social ills, things that upset her, and she was constantly upset about things. And feminism was one of her major issues. And I remember we had an argument once because she asked me if I was a feminist, and I said no.
Uh-oh.
But that being the case, I do believe, as you do, as Jed puts it, that a person should have that women should have equal rights and or control over their vaginas. But I don't think that's what modern feminism is anymore, and that's why I wouldn't self-identify as a feminist, because I think that's originally maybe what feminism was, but now it seems to have gotten to the point where it's about being pissed off all the time. Don't you agree?
Yeah, maybe that's why I don't call myself a feminist, because I associate like feminism with just like rage at like the world.
Shrill harpies screaming about every fucking thing that occurs, and everything that ever happens is because of the patriarchy.
Yeah, which is an exhausting way to look at the world.
Yes.
It's looking at the world through a very like limited perspective.
There's a tendency, the women I know who I consider the most feminist are the ones who are self-confident and strong and do whatever the fuck they want to do, and they don't worry about the political ramifications. They don't constantly look at the world and think that people are trying to fuck them over. They just do what they do, and they do it because they want to do it, and they think they can do it, and they never stop to question, what does this mean about myself? What does this mean? Is this going to somehow hurt the cause of feminism? Is this something somehow playing into gender stereotypes? They just do what the fuck they want to do, and that's what being self-confident and a strong woman is. It's the people I've known who have been obsessed with feminist ideology and who see the entire world through the prism of prejudice and somebody's out to get you all the time. It seems like often they are troubled by low self-esteem, and they think that they have to constantly jack themselves up, and all the other women around them, a bunch of women sitting in a circle talking about how beautiful their vaginas are and how beautiful they all are. And I've seen some of them, and they're not beautiful. I haven't seen their vaginas, but, you know.
Oh, well, yeah. They're not beautiful ones.
I'd assume the carpets match the drapes. But
yeah. Is that, you're using that term in that way? Really?
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't
Yeah, I know what you're saying. It's the other thing that I associate with the term feminist a lot, too, is just, it is sort of like there isn't a lot of tolerance for other people's viewpoints on anything. And there's a certain dogma that people follow, and it's all very exhausting and not very liberating in the sense that the positive way you think about feminism, you think, oh, yes, equal rights for women.
Yes.
You think that's a very liberating and positive thing, rather than just being something where it's like trying to silence everyone around them who say anything that they might disagree with their opinion of the moment.
Yes,
and that's exhausting.
Preaching tolerance, but being completely intolerant of any opposing viewpoint. It's just the anger that seems to permeate every aspect of their lives, where maybe something will happen that they don't think is fair, and instead of it just being the capricious nature of the universe, which is usually the case,
yes,
just random bullshit happens, it always is because of some concerted effort by society to keep them down, or men are trying to fuck with them.
And this isn't just exclusively the feminist domain. This is the domain of anyone that's a complete ideologue about things like this.
I don't like anyone who is completely ideological, because they see the world through the prism of that ideology, and it colors everything. It colors every interpersonal relationship. It colors every experience they have. And I think it robs you of being able to just have a good life and enjoy things that happen to you.
And it robs you of seeing things for what they are, rather than seeing, anything you see on the street as the underlying cause being either the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, or like the patriarchy, or feminists are conspiring against me. It's an exhausting way to look at it.
Well, and then it robs things that actually might be motivated by prejudice or misogynism of any sort of... If you're constantly crying wolf, crying misogynism, then the things that actually are a problem don't have any merit anymore, because you're just constantly screaming about everything that happens.
Yeah, people tune you out if you're just constantly saying that everything that's going wrong with your life is because of the patriarchy.
Let's take some ownership.
Take some ownership of our existence. That being said, if there are legitimate issues where, women aren't being treated equally, I'm completely on the woman's side in that regard. Yeah,
completely. And that's the way I live my life. I don't think I have to espouse some belief system to show that
or call yourself something.
Or call myself something to be decent to other people. And that's basically what it is. It's being decent to people and realizing that everybody has worth. And, well, not everybody, but most people have worth.
Yeah, most people.
And not based on your group, if you're a woman, or you're black, or you're Hispanic, or you're gay. Just based on you as a person, you have worth. And I don't want to identify with a group. I don't want to identify with a minority. I don't want to identify with an ideology. I just want to be me, and I want people to take me as me, and I take other people as them. And that's it. Not as a woman, not as any sort of stupid group.
Well said.
Thank you.
That was a powerful, powerful speech.
That was a really strange listener feedback. We weren't inane or crass. Crude.
I don't think so. We'll see what the...
This is a new leaf for the Warren and Bradley Show. Important political discourse.
Yeah, and if any of the listeners out there
counterpoint
disagree with us, or find any...
But the people who do are assholes. And I think they know that.
That's the same perspective you're just decrying on the show.
No, but it's different because I'm the arbiter of these things.
Okay.
Because it is the Warren and Bradley Show.
Fair enough.
There we go. So this has been listener feedback on the Warren and Bradley Show.
This has been listener feedback on the Warren and Bradley Show. If you'd like to get in touch, send your questions, comments, and concerns to podcast@warrenandbradley.com.
So, Warren.
What?
As you may or may not know, there has been a remake of the popular 80s movie Red Dawn in the works for quite some time.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. You didn't know about this?
Well, I should have assumed it would happen, considering Total Recall is in the theaters right now.
We remake every fucking movie that's ever existed.
Yeah.
But it was actually... I think it was in 2008 that there's rumors that this was going to be made, and it went into pre-production. It was actually made and was originally going to be released in 2010, but MGM went bankrupt. And they were having all sorts of problems. And so there were several movies that had been made, but they just didn't have the money to market them and release them.
I've got to say, of all the movies that have been remade, I think I see some problems with remaking this one in contemporary America.
Well, maybe we'll get into that.
Because the opposition no longer exists.
Well, this is... Okay, originally the film was about the Chinese.
Oh, is the actual original film about the Chinese?
No, originally it was the Russians.
Yeah, it was the Russians in the movie, right?
But there was also a coalition with the Cubans. I think the Chinese were involved as well, but they focused on...
international communist conspiracy.
Yeah, exactly. This movie was going to focus on the Chinese.
Oh, the Chinese
attacking America,
over.
yes.
Okay.
Small town in Washington State. A group of high school students, just like the original, go out into the hills and form a guerrilla movement and fight the occupiers. But as the MGM financial difficulties mounted, this movie was shelved. And then eventually, now that the whole bankruptcy for MGM has been kind of taken care of, it's going to be released now. But they had to make some changes because they were worried about the fact that the Chinese would not be very happy about this. And we all know that we're in debt up to our asses to the Chinese, and the Chinese market is huge. So they changed the main antagonist to the North Koreans.
Oh, probably a good move as far as marketing.
I guess, but I don't really see the North Koreans as being able to mount a large-scale invasion of the U.S.
Well, I strongly doubt the Chinese would try a land invasion of the United States at this point. I mean,
if anybody could, it would be them.
They might try, but it would be a very difficult thing for them to pull off.
But anyway, it's if people who have not seen the original movie, it's horrible but quite entertaining. You know,
I've never seen it.
Really?
No, I've never seen it.
It's the who's who of the '80s brat pack.
It's that whole crew, right?
Fighting.
It's in a
got
series
like
of movies.
Thomas Howe, Ali Sheedy, Patrick Swayze, Charlie Sheen. Like, everybody's in there. And they're fighting these Russians, and they're screaming and running around, stealing weapons, and they pretty much single-handedly beat back the Russian invasion of the U.S. Now, Warren.
Yeah.
Let's say, we're not in high school anymore.
Certainly not.
No. But, let's say we're wrapping up the podcast. We just had a nice recording session.
Yeah.
You're about to go and walk home. You only live a few blocks away. You look out the window and you see these parachutes coming down.
Oh, jeez.
All over the place. There's jets flying overhead. Flak. Actually, that flak would be from us. So, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. But there's bombings, there's violence occurring outside, and you realize that we're being invaded by a foreign power. Mm-hmm. You're still here with me.
So I'm like looking out the window and I'm seeing them coming in now.
You're about
over
to
the
leave.
Bay.
You're like, all right, this has been the Warren and Bradley
the
show.
Usual post-show high five.
Yeah, we high five.
Yeah,
little mutual masturbation, and then you're getting ready to leave. You look out the window. You see that the Chinese, the North Koreans, whoever the fuck,
some Asians coming,
red communist Asians, are parachuting down. They're blacking out the sky with their planes, and that's a lot of them. There's a lot of them.
They want Bellingham, I can tell.
Well, Bellingham is their prime target because they have to shut down the Freedom Network that is the Warren and Bradley show, our pirate radio station. Mm-hmm. Anyway, what do you do? What's your first thought?
You know what? Not a lot we can do.
Surrender and go into the internment camp?
Basically, yeah. You can't resist an entire army. If we're being invaded right now...
What has Hollywood taught you, Warren?
Trust me. This is what you do.
Yeah.
You join the underground.
Yeah.
The North Koreans come in. They take over. There's a black market. All these things happen. We're an occupied country, right? You try to, ingratiate yourself with them. Mm-hmm. While at the same time building an underground network.
Of what?
Bombs.
Bombs?
Bombs.
Bombs.
And everyone has code names.
Yeah.
They meet in secret.
What would your code name be?
My code name would be Shadow.
Shadow, I like that.
Because the harder you try to capture me, the smaller I get.
What? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, that's true. It is true, because if you have a shadow and your hands are up against a wall, and then you move towards your hands that are the shadow, they get smaller and smaller and smaller until they disappear.
So now every time you're on our secret radio communication, like, Shadow's coming in. And then they're like, why are you called Shadow? And you have to explain this to them every time?
Well, I go into it and they're like, explain that again. It's an issue, but it's also a very cool nickname.
It sounds good. It's good.
Yeah. So, I've got the underground network going, car bombings, trying to blow up, their pagodas, whatever they're building around here. Who knows?
That's not true.
And then eventually, the tide is turned.
Right.
We get reinforcements that come in from the east.
Right.
And I become the Governor General of Washington State.
So do you think that this invasion, they gain a foothold because they probably come onto the Pacific Rim? That's where they would probably try to...
Yes. It would shock me if they sent a bunch of paratroopers to an unarmed town in the northwest of the country.
Yeah.
But if they were to do that, there was nothing we could do.
So let's say they have America up to the Mississippi River.
Yeah.
So basically the entire West, some of the Midwest. But if I were to tell you that I had a secret cache of weapons...
Yeah.
And we could go locate that cache very quickly and escape into the foothills, would you do that? Or would you just wait to see what would happen? What if it was an internment? What if they took every citizen and put us in giant camps and it wasn't just an occupation?
If they're rounding us up. Yeah. If they land and then we notice they're taking everybody and just rounding everyone up, we get the guns and we try to head for the hills.
Yeah, because I've got a pickup truck.
And then we go Che Guevara and Fidel Castro in the hills, and then we raid every once in a while.
So can you think of any friends of ours who you would want to initiate into our underground guerrilla fighting force?
Well, no, because we don't know a lot of badasses.
Yeah.
It's a real issue with the group.
Yeah, we're kind of the baddest asses in the group, which doesn't bode well for our chances.
No, but that makes us unlikely heroes.
Yeah.
But that's why I think it would be great if we just stayed in society and worked Sub Rosa and undermined our Asian overlords eventually. Weaken them from within without them even knowing it's happening. Like a virus attacking the cells.
We just intimidate them with our great height.
Yes. If they'd come up to us and we'd like look down at them and be like, you still got a problem? They're like, no, and they back off.
But we all know the state of the average human in North Korea, the complete control that the government has over every aspect of everyone's life. If they tried to institute that, how difficult do you think it would be to run this underground operation, this resistance, if you will?
It would be difficult, sure. Mm-hmm. But that's why I'm brave.
Get some sort of underground railroad to the northeast.
Well, yeah, we communicate with other like rebel cells,
right,
and people would come in on trains and they'd like set down a briefcase at a train station, and then I'd walk up and pick up that briefcase and then walk to my secret lair and look at the codes and stuff.
How do you think you would do at warfare? Because
probably not very good. I'd probably flinch a lot.
We're one of the first generations in the U.S. that has not been in war.
There's a draft.
There's been no draft. And so there's a huge part of the population that has never had any sort of military training. We've shot guns, at least.
We have shot guns.
We've shot assault rifles.
I know the few times that I've paintballed in my life, I've had a really hard time just like flinching and kind of like staying behind a tree stump and being afraid to
so
like
get out. You don't have
the
killer instinct, you don't think?
Oh, who knows? Maybe it would come out of me if I was actually shooting a real gun. But with paintball, I just get my mask gets fogged up and then I just end up like cowering.
Would you have any problem killing a man?
Oh, if the North Koreans were here and invading, no, I don't think I'd have any problem. Would you have any problem about that?
I don't think so.
Are you kidding me? North Koreans running in our streets, I just gun them down.
So you're saying that if they were Europeans, you would have a problem, but since they're the yellow threat,
the people from Luxembourg,
you're fine.
The other thing, if the North Koreans invaded, I might just try to take them on, because I don't think there are that many of them, and they're all kind of sickly.
Well, it would probably be a coalition, the North Koreans and the Chinese.
You know what? It's a bad move, people. There's a reason nobody's trying it.
The sad thing is that it's kind of a cool fantasy. Like, I probably wouldn't mind that much.
Oh, we've talked about this before. The fact that all the post-apocalyptic scenarios kind of like now, from where we're sitting right now, look kind of appealing, look kind of exciting.
Which just points to how empty our lives are and how little stimulation we get on a daily basis. The idea of fighting for our lives and mass genocide and all these things occurring around us would actually
it would be very exciting.
Brighten up my disposition a little bit.
Yeah.
I'd have a purpose. I'd have a reason to get up every morning.
Now that we're inviting you, North Koreans.
Well, I wonder, could I be tried for treason if I encourage North Koreans to actually invade America?
I don't know. I think if you actually did it in a way where you were like funneling maps of Bellingham to Pyongyang or something, they might be a little suspicious of that. But you just calling for an invasion on a podcast, I don't think so.
Well, let's hope to God it doesn't happen.
But if it does, we're ready to go.
We're ready
to
and
rumble.
Bring it on.
Although they'll probably go right for us because there's recordings of us saying we're going to join the underground even before the invasion, so it's not going to bode well.
Well, we'd obviously be the prime choice for the leaders of the revolution, and so you'd want to take us out.
People of the community will come straight to us.
All right, so that's probably all the time we have for this week's Warren and Bradley show. This is one of your hosts, Bradley Victor.
This is your other host, Warren Man.
Saying,
keep your face on...
Keep your face.
This has been the Warren and Bradley Show, brought to you by Warren Van and Bradley Victor. For podcast news and information, like the show on Facebook at facebook.com/Warren and Bradley. Follow the show on Twitter at Warren and Brad. Subscribe on iTunes and leave a review. For episode archives and episode pictures, go to warrenandbradley.com, and to contact the show, write to podcast@warrenandbradley.com.